In Africa, we have a long history of people in power behaving badly, behaving as if there's no tomorrow, behaving as if their lives and what they do when they have this power will not be required to stand the test of time, as if it does not matter how history will look at them. This is indeed very short-sighted, because you leave behind people who will carry your name, and they'll continue living on this earth hundreds of years after you're gone. And this is why some people change their names. Folks, a good name is much better than all the money in the world. What would you rather be? The son of Idi Amin Dada, former Ugandan dictator, or the son of Kenneth Matiba, or Tom Mboya, or Dedan Kimathi? You may not have a lot of money, but your second name can do some things for you that all the money in the world can never do for you. Anyway, today I have a real treat for you. An excerpt from my book, Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency. And not just any section of the book, a very dramatic section, a movie. Enjoy as we remind ourselves to always, forever, only do things that can stand the test of time. Welcome to these excerpts from my book, Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency. I think by far the most popular book I've ever written. This is just a section of the book, the new revised version, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Now, the Luo community have been known to produce opportunistic strikers, legendary opportunistic strikers. These are strikers who can smell a goal, and produce actually a goal from nothing. I'm thinking of names like Peter Dao, or they used to call him Peter Dao, a very sensational striker. Anyway, the Luo have also produced opportunistic politicians, and people have not been able to look at them this way before. I'm talking about, of course, Tom Mboya, who took advantage of an opportunity and turned it into something great. But there's another less known figure who, although he was not a politician, played politics marvelously and beautifully to be able to achieve quite a lot. Well, selfishly so, but I think his life is very interesting to look at. And this is, of course, a man who was called Hezekiah Oyugi. At the height of his power, Hezekiah Oyugi used to have ministers, cabinet ministers, kneeling down before him. And yet he was nothing more than a permanent secretary. Actually, a permanent secretary who was previously a DO, DC, PC, and then permanent secretary. Somebody who rose from very humble beginnings but took full advantage of the opportunities that were before him. An extremely intelligent man. It is believed that Hezekiah Oyugi developed his close relationship with President Moi, at that time the vice president, during his tenure as Nakuru DC. For younger Kenyans, DC means district commissioner. Nakuru was Moi's home district, and it was also the place where the Kiambu Mafia operated in extensively. Now, as DC of Nakuru, Oyugi was able to get a lot of information, and he passed this information on to Moi. Now, credit has to be given to Oyugi, because nobody ever guessed that one day humble Vice President Moi would ever rise to be president of the country. Yes, he was the vice president, but it was clear that the Kiambu Mafia were never going to allow him to step into the shoes of Jomo Kenyatta. Indeed, even the Kiambu Mafia had started a Change the Constitution movement, and had gotten the support of many powerful politicians. The whole idea was to change the constitution so that Moi did not ascend to the presidency automatically. It is believed that it was from Oyugi that Moi learned of an assassination plot that had been planned for him. You see, after the change, the constitutional movement went belly up, mainly because it received no support from Jomo Kenyatta. The Kiambu Mafia hatched a plan to ensure that Moi would never ascend to the presidency. And their plan was to assassinate him in the event of Kenyatta's death, to assassinate Moi. It is believed that Moi learned of this from Oyugi. Now, Oyugi rose very rapidly after the death of President Kenyatta, very rapidly up the ranks. And the main reason was the role he played in not only getting Moi safely to Nairobi, but looking after his entire security and organizing a plan that would bypass the Kiambu Mafia, who had their tentacles everywhere, in the security forces, in the police, and so on. Actually, on the death of Kenyatta, Charles Njonjo, who was then the Attorney General AG, dispatched a helicopter to search for Moi. What had happened is that they tried to raise him on phone, but he was not reachable. Now, the interesting and fascinating thing is that once the helicopter had landed on Moi's farm, it did not come back to Nairobi with him. Very interesting. Instead, it was sent back with the message that Moi would proceed to Nairobi immediately. But Moi did not do that. He made his way back to Nakuru, where he met up with Oyugi, who at that time was not even aware that Kenyatta was no more. Oyugi then discreetly drove Moi to Nairobi. We have already seen how Moi got back to Nairobi in the boot of an old Peugeot 404. Oyugi is the one who drove that vehicle. It was a bizarre way for the President of the Republic of Kenya to get to Nairobi from Nakuru, but it was necessary under the circumstances. It was necessary to keep him alive. It is this entire operation which Oyugi performed, of course endangering his own life greatly, that enabled Oyugi to rise up to a situation where he was untouchable in the Moi government. Indeed, he was the only non-Kalenjin who was untouchable in the inner Moi circle. The accidental politician, the accidental president, who ended up as an accidental legend. Moi was born in Sacho, Kabarak village, Baringo County in 1924, born Toroitich Moi. And when he was only 4 years old, his father passed on, and Moi became a teacher. His image of the smartly dressed teacher who did not talk much began to emerge in the village. And in 1950, he got married to a very beautiful lass called Helena Bomet. And Moi started a family. But fate had different ideas, and destiny started moving very rapidly. The colonial administration in that area were looking for a local leader, the equivalent of a chief today, but with a much larger jurisdiction. And so in this crisis, somebody remembered the tall, polite, staunch Christian who was always walking around the village, a school teacher. And the Mzungus quickly sent for him. And that is how Moi's political journey started.